Hi everyone, me again. Scott here in an unoccupied room in the hotel that I work in, talking about another 7 movies from 2003 that I think are quite good and that you ought to check out if you haven't already. By the way, for those of you who are curious, those are my boxers. Just FYI. So we left off with The Shape of Things, which is kind of small little film with a small number of characters, and now I'd like to talk about the directorial debut by a certain individual named George Clooney. One thing that I probably didn't mention in the last video is that I'm going by Chicago release dates here as verified by Roger Ebert's website. Roger Ebert isn't live anymore, but his website's still operational. And you can look up Chicago release dates of films by just checking for the review and seeing when it was published. And although it's mostly considered a 2002 movie, for me, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind was released here in early 2003, so that's why I'm calling it a 2003 movie, just so you know. Confessions of a Dangerous Mind is an adaptation of a book by Chuck Barris, the former host of The Gong Show, and a few other television shows. He was also a writer of pop music as well. And this is apparently a biography, although it contains a lot of information that can't totally be trusted, because in his biography, Barris claimed that he was also an assassin for the CIA. In this movie, Barris is played by Sam Rockwell, one of my favorite character actors, a really, really great guy, and a terrific actor. And I would see Poltergeist this summer just for him, but if I really wanted to see Poltergeist that badly. I don't, actually, but if I were to, it would probably be because he's in it. Anyway, Clooney plays his CIA handler, the guy who contacts him and recruits him. And also you've got a couple people played by Julia Roberts and Drew Barrymore. Drew Barrymore plays his longtime girlfriend, Penny. I think her name is Penny, just like Kate Hudson in Almost Famous, so I could be remembering that wrong. But yeah, very, very colorful, dynamically directed movie. Clooney, of course, went on to do Good Night and Good Luck, which is also about television, the older days of television. And in this case, he's got a really wacky story. The screenplay was actually written by Charlie Kaufman, who also wrote Being John Malkovich, an adaptation, and a few other crazy movies. And Kaufman actually complained that the script was changed too much, but I don't really see the problem. I thought the movie turned out great. It's a terrific movie. Yeah, kind of a strange, oftentimes rather surreal movie. There's one segment in the movie that's just like, the movie just seems to sort of fly off the rails for a little while. It's pretty bizarre, but one that I enjoy quite a bit. The next movie I'd like to talk about is also directed by an actor, Peter Milan. He's an actor from the UK, usually plays really sort of hard-bitten, gruff characters, and he has made a very, very hard-bitten, gruff film called The Magdalene Sisters. This is based on a true story of young teenage girls. For whatever reason, they would be hauled off to this home out in the middle of nowhere, where they were forced to basically do laundry 7 days a week. And the sins that they committed, the reasons why they were brought there, are varied. There are 3 central characters in the movie, one of whom got pregnant because she had a fling with a boy, and that brought shame upon her parents, of course, and her family, so they shipped her off and basically got rid of her. Then there was a girl who was raped by a boy, but still the family felt ashamed by that because she had intercourse even though it wasn't consensual. She was still blamed and shipped off to this place to do hard labor for years. And the third character is basically just a flirt. She's a very attractive young girl who likes talking with boys, and the people at the boarding school that she was working with didn't like her behavior very much. Even though she didn't do anything wrong either, they bundled her off to the same place just because she was too comfortable with her own, sex appeal. So yeah, none of them really deserved being there. Yeah, they all were made to suffer. And this is, like I said, a really kind of hard-edged movie. Not so much in the terms of explicit sex or violence or anything like that, but just in the very, very rough treatment, the extremely unsympathetic treatment by the nuns and the personnel that ran this facility, forcing these girls basically to do hard labor, to just wash sheets and clothes, 7 days a week, and just really, have a kind of a tough life. Really excellent movie. I've only seen it one time, and I really ought to take a look at it again, but it made quite a strong impression when I did see it. Let's move on to something a bit lighter. One of my favorite movies directed by Ridley Scott, the guy behind Prometheus and, of course, classic Alien and Blade Runner and stuff like that, did a comedy about con artists called Matchstick Men. Sam Rockwell, again, appears in this movie. Nicolas Cage is the main character. He's a long-time con artist, very good at what he does. He's also got a bit of a number of different tics, habitual kind of OCD symptoms that he needs medication for. He's seeing a therapist who prescribes him some pills. In the meantime, Sam Rockwell is trying to get him to run this big scam on this high roller and make a whole bunch of money, swipe a whole bunch of money out from under him. In the meantime, he's also dealing with his teenage daughter, his about 14-year-old daughter, who has popped up unexpectedly back into his life. He hasn't really been around for her since he broke off things with the girl's mother years ago, but now she's shown up and wants to hang out with him and learns that he's a con artist and wants to know all about it. How does one become a con artist? What do you do? And things like that. So he's sort of like saying, okay, well, you know, I'll might as well show you what I do. This is the only really way I know how to be a parent to you, is just to like tell you if you're going to be a con artist, here's the right way to do it. So it's a fun movie, really, really fun movie, and a lot of good surprises as well. Con artist movies usually have a good surprise or two, and this is no exception. And like I said, one of my favorite Ridley Scott movies. The other ones, Gladiator, Thelma and Louise, you know, Alien, those are all decent movies, and this one's a good one too, although not as widely heralded as those. A movie that did get quite a lot of praise when it came out, Master and Commander: The Far Side of the World. This is one of the Best Picture nominees that year. Of the 5 Best Picture nominees, including Mystic River and Lord of the Rings Part 3, this one was the only one that I liked. I saw all 5 Best Picture nominees, and this is the only one that I liked. Darn good movie. It's directed by Peter Weir, who did Witness with Harrison Ford, Fearless with Jeff Bridges, a number of other notable pictures. This one is based on a series of novels, and actually Master and Commander is the name of one of the books, and The Far Side of the World is the name of another book, and I don't know exactly how the adaptation went, but it could be a combination of one or more different adventures. Anyway, it's basically the main character is played by Russell Crowe. He's a ship's commander, I think, in the Royal Navy, and Paul Bettany is his first mate, I think. And they're dealing with enemy ships, and they're dealing with lack of wind and lack of water, and just all sorts of various problems. Good, solid period adventure film. Just good. Again, this is a movie I've only ever seen one time, but it made a really strong impression, and eventually I'm going to have to get around to taking a look at it. It's one of those movies that never seems to air on cable, which is really too bad. You know, it ought to. It ought to be on TV more. It's really good. Next, I'd like to move on to Identity. Identity is a movie directed by James Mangold, and has a really, really great cast of character actors in it. In fact, at least 3 of them he'd already worked with prior. He directed Girl Interrupted, and he got Clea Duvall from that movie to appear in the film. Pruitt Taylor Vince from his first film Heavy appears in the movie as well, and Ray Liotta from Copland. Copland, which I mentioned in the 1997 list that I put out, is another one of Mangold's films. Ray Liotta's great in that movie, and he appears in this one as well. And the main character is played by John Cusack, who's a limousine driver and a former cop, who's driving an actress played by Rebecca De Mornay from Las Vegas to Los Angeles, or maybe it's the other way around, I forget exactly. But they're caught out in the rain, and they need to stop at this hotel where a number of other people have gathered for whatever reason. They're just having a lot of trouble getting where they need to go because the road is flooded and they're not able to get through. And then someone starts killing each one of them, and they're really taken aback by this, obviously, and very scared and wondering which among them is the killer, if it's one of them, and if there's some sort of pattern and what's going on here. Some rather volatile characters, including the one who Jake Busey, who's being escorted by Ray Liotta. He's a prisoner, and everyone suspects him, of course, but then people start suspecting one of the other characters. Amanda Peet is in this movie. John Hawkes from Winter's Bone, he's in it as well. He's really great. Yeah, terrific movie. Really a lot of fun, and good thriller with some great twists in it. Another movie that's technically a 2002 movie but came out in Chicago in early 2003, The Pianist, Roman Polanski's film about the Polish piano player who basically was hiding from the Germans after his city was invaded by during World War II, and hiding out in an abandoned apartment and then hiding out amongst the ruins trying to stay alive. Adrian Brody, of course, won the Best Actor Oscar for this movie. Polanski won Best Director that year. Terrific movie. Again, a movie I've only seen like the one time. I might have seen it twice, but I think possibly only once. It's yeah, a really, really compelling film. And whatever you think of Polanski personally, and I don't like to praise the work of people who have done bad things in their real life. You know, I just don't feel like supporting them. But yeah, it's definitely a noteworthy movie. Finally, here's a movie which I actually have seen more than once. In fact, I've seen it a whole bunch of times. And it's one of the reasons why I've broken my little rule right here. Kill Bill Volume 1. Quentin Tarantino's big, splashy, colorful ode to all different kinds of cinema that he loves. Kill Bill Volume 1, a much stronger entry for me than Kill Bill Volume 2. Yeah, just great action, great sequences, all sorts of homages and winks and references to other movies right there, but just you know, balls out a revenge picture with a lot of great fight choreography and some great choices of music, as is the case with many Quentin Tarantino movies, at least the music part. This was the first film that Robert Richardson was DP on. Prior to this, he'd worked with Andrei Sekula on his films Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, and Jackie Brown. Ever since then, he's gotten, well, not entirely, but he's gotten Robert Richardson to shoot most of them. Richardson, of course, is best known for working with Oliver Stone. But now I think he's probably more well known for working with Quentin Tarantino. But yeah, those Oliver Stone movies in the 90s, such as The Doors and JFK and Natural Born Killers, are all shot by Richardson. Very, very exciting visual films. So those are my second set of a week's worth of movies for 2003. Next I'll be doing 2004, of course. I hope you tune in for that. If you haven't seen it already, the link in the description below is for the playlist that will show you all of the videos that I've done so far in this series. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate you commenting, of course, and visiting my Facebook page, which is also in the description below. Yeah, and I hope that you enjoy some of these titles I've recommended for you. Take it easy, and I'll see you next time.